The rain beat down, sporadically hitting my face. The cold of the wind pressed against me and wrapped around me. The wind howled. I slugged through the mud to the mansion which lay atop a hill. The trees loomed above me, casting a dark shadow upon the ground, adding to the desolation. The leaves were crumpled to the floor, brown and dead. They flopped and slapped when I hurried over them, my sword clanking as I ran. I brought my hand up to block the rage of the storm. I mounted the steps, hurrying up it, cradling my left arm, as if it was a baby. It pained immensely. I could feel it through the numb of the cold. When I reached the top of the steps, I was greeted by stone statues of nude babies, hiding their faces away, covering their faces with their arms. I proceeded towards the door and I banged against it several times. No answer. I tried to push against the door. Slowly it began to creak open, groaning as it did. At last it opened, and I came inside. The building was old but beautiful. A soul's chandelier illuminated the room and part of the hallway beyond. I called out, "Hello!" but as before there was no reply. It was strange that the chandelier was lit, but no one was there. I sat on the steps leading to the second floor and pondered for a bit. I realized that people could still be here, so I got up and went searching. I lit a candle and went down the hallway. I came across a kitchen. I couldn't help it. I went in and like a savage beast devoured the content in the storage. I noticed a wine cellar neatly tucked away in the corner, and I heard a muffled cry. "Hello!" I called again. There was a louder, more desperately muffled cry. I began descending the wooden steps hurriedly. When I reached the bottom, I paled. Red, oozing liquid blanketed the floor, and splash marks stained the ceilings and walls. A slight gasp escaped my throat, and I went to clutch the hilt of my sword. My palms were sweaty, and I could hear my breathing. Another muffled cry echoed through the large chamber. I turned, slowly, going back up the stairs, but I stopped. I turned around and took a deep breath. I proceeded towards the source of the sound. If someone was in danger, I would not leave them. I clenched my jaw and tightened my grip on the hilt of my sword. As I proceeded, the blood began to clear out, but to my horror there were dry bones. Not a single drop of liquid was there to be seen. And as I came further into the cellar, I noticed dark shapes on the ground, bodies and rags around their mouths. There was one in particular which caught my eye. It was sitting up and was rasping for breath. I rushed over, sheathing my sword. He looked like a middle-aged man with brown hair, dotted with strands of white. I quickly removed the rags and ropes and asked, "What the fuck happened here?" He didn't reply. I gently shook him. He took shallow and rattling breaths. He looked up at me and suddenly gasped. "The creature! Where is it?" he said between breaths. "What?" I suddenly felt a searing hot pain across my back. I collapsed to the ground, landing with a thud. My left side took the impact, but my arm burst into agonizing pain. I gasped. I drew my sword and aimlessly flailed it about. It struck something and a deafening howl filled my ears. I got up, turning. A thing stood there. It was cloaked in darkness and shadows. It came out. It was a hideous thing. It stood there, hunched over, furious and growling. Its fingers were like needles and its claws were like butcher's knives. Its eyes were calculating and sly. Its teeth were pain. I stood there ready, clutching my sword, trying in vain to be menacing. It screwed its face up, as if it was disgusted, and a low, rumbling growl grew. I lunged, slashing down viciously. I struck it with a snapping blow. It retorted with its own slash. I dodged and returned a devastating blow. It howled and retreated into the shadows, growling as it went. I didn't look away from it, but then it was gone. I couldn't understand where it went. I turned to the victim, but he was gone, and so were the bodies. I sprinted for the stairs. Every step grew longer and longer, the steps to the kitchen stretching away. I ran, a dreading knot twisting and revolving in my stomach. A primitive fear gripped me, and it held me. Slow, cold tears slipped down my temples. I ran outside. I couldn't comprehend what had happened to me. I ran till I collapsed. I breathed heavily. I laughed, a bitter laugh. I don't know why.